I grew up in Iowa, which was in Des Moines, Iowa. That's where I was born and raised, and which is very bucolic, and it's very, open and green, and kind of a wonderful place to grow up. When I was younger, when I was in high school, I learned to play the guitar, and I wrote music for rock bands that I played in, and I wrote music for myself to play on guitar. Actually, I grew up listening to Judas Priest, and I mean, just the worst of the worst when it comes to heavy metal. My father is a musician. He actually sings in a barbershop chorus. Music has always been a part of my life. That's an important part of music making for me, of composing, is trying to retain that sense of enthusiasm of sort of the amateur musician while having the training and background and opportunities of a professional musician. I got into composing really when I was in college. I went to Swarthmore with some vague notion that I would study something academic and someday teach somewhere. I've always been excited by passionate conversations about crazy ideas and tossing things around. So philosophy had a natural draw for me. And then I took a course in 20th century music with Gerald Levinson, who's a wonderful composer, and something about it really excited me. Something about the complexity and the difficulty of it. I've always enjoyed books, art, music, ideas that make you work a little bit in order to get them. Everybody I know was just amazed and delighted that there was going to be a series of new music presented by the New York Philharmonic. Alan is a phenomenally gifted conductor with a vision of changing the landscape of the way music is presented and received. There's something very special about what he's doing right now. My piece for the Contact series of the New York Philharmonic is True South. It takes its title from sort of flipping upside down the notion of true north. We tend to think of the North as being where the most activity and sort of the focus of humanity is. And I saw this film, Encounters at the End of the World, a documentary that Werner Herzog made. And it's set at the South Pole. In the film, he goes to Antarctica and records his experiences. And part of what's so amazing about it is that it's this incredible physical beauty of the place. But it's inhabited by all these really interesting people. This is a place that attracts people who are sort of perpetual wanderers and who sort of live at the periphery, and which sort of plays in with what we think of Antarctica being, which is sort of the end of the world, where it is the periphery. It's something about this notion of turning the world upside down and looking at it from this different perspective hit me and became sort of a bed, an origin, a foundation for the piece. I use harmonies and sounds that have a familiar aspect to them. I use triads sometimes, but I try to use them in ways that are unusual and not expected. I love, for instance, to create an expectation only in order to sort of go around it or subvert it. There are parts of this piece where there's a lot going on, but the individual components are actually very simple. And so if you were able to pick out what one instrument is doing, it would be very basic. But when you have 24 instruments, each doing something very basic, it can actually become something very full and very rich. There are a few really important concepts that I was introduced to a long time ago that have really stuck with me and that influence the way I see the world and the way I approach music. And one of the most important ones has to do with perspective and the way we view things. And it's from the book Beyond Good and Evil by Nietzsche. For one may doubt, first, whether there are any opposites at all, and secondly, whether these popular valuations and opposite values on which the metaphysicians put their seal are not perhaps merely foreground estimates. And it seems to me that what this passage is about is the fact that whatever it is that you're talking about it, there's no way of grasping the thing in its totality. You can only see it from any number of perspectives. So it's only really through the act of imagining and combining perspectives that you can start to really understand a concept, something visual, something oral, in its entirety. It's an act of imagination. I love that. I just love that idea.